snail is at the bottom of the well, 30 meters deep. You see what's going on here? Right? It crawls up 3 meters each day, but at night it slips down 2 meters. How long will it take for the snail to crawl out of the well? Anyone? 29. You're a math teacher, Jason.
No.
Anyone else? How long will it take for the snail to crawl out of the well? Well done. Okay, 28 days. And if you're wondering why, there's the answer. Make sense? Okay. Okay, I'm here today, and I said to you the other day, I'm quite excited about talking about CLIL, because this is what's in the 12-year curriculum. It's what expected of us as foreign English teachers to present, to teach, when we're teaching English. And CLIL stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. Now, I'm going to say that again. Content and Language Integrated Learning. And this sounds very daunting, because a lot of us aren't familiar with this, but maybe some of you have been teaching this for years and you actually have not been aware of this. So I want to take you through this today, and we're going to provide some thoughts on CLIL. We're going to talk about the 4 C's, which is actually very, very important when talking about CLIL. And then other off-road considerations. And I say off-road because these aren't your mainstream type of considerations that you're going to apply in your classroom. And for me, they always work perfectly well. So I'd like you to also include these in CLIL as well. And that's going to be arts and crafts and YouTube. And then we're going to wrap up afterwards. So, CLIL, Content and Language Integrated Learning. When and who? Well, it was created in 1994, and it was largely an innovation from Europe itself. And the person behind this was David Marsh, actually an Australian, but he got most of his education in the UK, and he's currently in Finland at a university, Jyväskylä, I think you pronounce like that, and he looks something like that. So that's David Marsh, and he's the one who's going to be actually giving you a lot of work from now on. Okay. So, what is CLIL, Content and Language Integrated Learning? It actually is very simple. If I could just show you, it's content and language integrated. The two of them are together. That's as simple as that. Okay? But it's how we go about it. So, CLIL is an immersion approach. And I want you to associate it with the following. You are all familiar with MasterChef. Okay, I know you have MasterChef USA, you have MasterChef Australia, and we also have it in South Africa as well. Now imagine now, I was just speaking now to Zach, give me the name of a remote one-horse town in Arkansas, and you said Huntsville. Okay, so the winner of the USA MasterChef comes from Huntsville. Okay, and South Africa, what remote one-horse town do we have there? Malmesbury. Okay, we have Malmesbury. So one of the South African MasterChef winner came from Malmesbury. And Australia, Jason? Burke. Okay, and the winner from Australia came from Burke. Now these 3 chefs, these winners from the different countries, have now been invited to the prestigious culinary school in Paris with the name of Le Cordon Bleu. Now they're going to France to learn how to be perfect, the best Michelin 3-star, 5-star chefs. So they're now going to Paris to learn how to become chefs, but they can't speak French. So they get immersed into the program at this prestigious school, but they're not going there to learn how to speak French. They're learning how to become excellent chefs. And that's exactly the same with CLIL. That's what CLIL is about. It's not about the language, it's about the content. And by you looking at the way people are cooking and listening to the way they talk, you over time being immersed in that situation, you will be able now to pick up the language. Okay. Where did I put the clicker? Oh, right, okay. So it's an immersion approach, but it's content driven. And CLIL is a subject lesson. It is not a language lesson. I need to emphasize that. It is a it's a subject lesson, and it's those subjects that you're very familiar with. Okay? Also, a couple of that are possibly missing. There's life skills. Okay? I don't know if there's any other subjects. It's subjects, it's topics, it's themes, it's content. Okay? So those are all the subjects that you are going to be teaching in your CLIL lesson. Okay, I have a bit of a problem with this. Okay? And the target language is used across your lessons. And the target language in your case is going to be English. Okay? So you're going to be teaching subjects. CLIL is not language, it's not a language lesson, it is a content lesson. And it's just a paradigm shift. And some of you might have been doing this for years. Some of you might not be familiar with this. I know myself, I've been doing CLIL for quite a few years, but I just never associated a label to it. Okay? I just didn't know what CLIL was until I read it up on it and I thought, but I'm doing this. And whenever I've taught an English lesson, I'm not teaching the language, I'm teaching content. And whenever I was browsing through the textbooks to see what I can teach, it was about the content, it was about the theme, it was about the topic, but never the language itself. The CLIL, the content, that is the tool, whereas your language, that is the vehicle. Through the language you are going to bring across the content. Now, any of you in some way or another been teaching like this? Okay, so some of you might be familiar. Okay, I want to now just take you through some other issues of CLIL. It's a balancing act. When we talk of a balancing act, if we say that we're going to be teaching content, then you have to ensure that you bring it across effectively to the students. Now, for the upper level students, that's actually going to be quite easy, okay? But for the lower level students, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So with the upper level students, your focus will be more on content. Whereas for the lower level, although content, you're going to bring in a lot more language as well, okay? And if you're in a classroom situation where you have upper level and lower level students, then that's really where that balancing act has to take place. So it is definitely a balancing act. Sorry about this. Okay. And this is the key point as well. You are now a subject teacher. But I've also included the plural here, subjects, because I think whenever I'm teaching lessons, it's more than just one subject. It could be math, it could be geography, it could be history, all within one lesson itself. So CLIL, that's where you now become the subject teacher. Not the language teacher, you are the subject, the subject teacher. Right, the focus is on fluency and not accuracy. You're not going to teach grammar, okay? You're rather going to focus on communication. This is a bit slow today. Okay? And so students feel free to make mistakes. because we know that fear kills creativity. So you have to encourage them rather to communicate about the topic, the content, and not focus rather on the mistakes. And what's important about CLIL is it has to be rich input. It's got to be meaningful, it's got to be challenging, and it's got to be authentic. Now when I talk about authentic, it's got to be about the real world things. Challenging, you want to push the students as far as possible, because students need to be challenged. It's got to be flexible. Okay, and when I say flexible, I'm talking about subject-specific study skills. And we know that all the subjects have different study skills, learning skills. Math is completely different to history, and history is completely different to geography, etc. So it's very, very flexible. And there's collaborative teamwork as well. And you would have picked up that I enjoy working with groups because I can get a lot of collaboration coming out of them in the groups per se. And the students need to be active learners. I don't know if any of you have seen at many of your schools where they're sitting in rows behind one another and they're all gazing up into the sky wondering now what's for lunch, etc., etc. They're going to be active learners, okay? So keep them in their groups and I'll give you some ideas later on how to keep them active. Okay, CLIL. CLIL is associated with the 4 C's. And this is considered the conceptual framework for CLIL. First of all, you get content, then you get communication, and then you get community. But a lot of the readings which I've been going through, instead of community, they would often talk of culture. I rather prefer to talk of community because culture often is associated with festivals and different types of food, etc. I like to use the word community. Okay, but if you want to use culture, it's up to you. And then cognitive. And those are the different learning levels. Okay, we're going to talk about all of these as we go through. But this is a conceptual framework which you as teachers, when designing your lessons, have to include all 4 elements. Okay. Now I'm going to say this to you in the meantime, but when we meet again, I think it's in January, during the winter vacation, you're going to be asked to make a 5-minute presentation on a CLIL lesson that you have presented at your school. Okay, so please just make sure you have included these 4 elements in your lesson planning. Okay, the first one, content. Well, no matter if it's subject, content, subject or topic or theme, no matter what it is, it leads the way. Okay? You have to ensure that you make your lesson a content lesson. It is not a language lesson. So consider content with real world issues. And we're going to be talking later on about plastic bag pollution in oceans. We're going to talk about what were the other topics I was going to talk about. But anyway, real world, quality of life, and then food waste. Those are the kind of things that are real world today, and we need to get our students talking about. So real world issues, and then combine with your own interests. If your background, for instance, is in economics, make that your strength. If you're in physical education, make that your strength. If it's music, or history, or geography, make that your strength and fly with that. Okay? In my case, I like to use quite a few subjects, so it's a real mixture of what I'm particularly interested and fond of teaching. And then take risks. Now, I don't know about you, but I think a lot of the lesson failures that I've had were due to taking risks, and I've learned from it, and I've said to myself, well, I'm not going to be doing that again, or I might even improve on it. So consider taking risks. Might not work for you the first time, the second time, but consider taking risks when you start preparing your CLIL lessons. Okay, right, the next one's communication. Well, if it's a subject lesson, and you've got your content, you've got your subject, whatever it is that you want to put forward, the language has to support your subject content, okay? And by that I mean you have to ensure that your scaffolding is very, very good, okay? Because now you're going to be teaching these students a lot of concepts. And to do that, you've got to to start using scaffolding, ways to support the content. Everything is driven by the language to support your content. So, and this is actually very important. A basic minimum level of target language ability is considered adequate for CLIL. A basic minimum. Okay? Those are big words. So actually, if you think about it, we really don't have to use, we're not looking at upper level, we're going to even use it with lower level, and I've done it myself with students at lower level in grade 8, and it turned out to be a huge success. We were talking about food, and then later on we went on to food pyramids, carbohydrates, all those big words. So if I could do it with a lower level grade 8 class, then certainly you can do it as well. So a minimum level. Okay, community. First of all, cultural awareness. This is about associating or getting the students familiar with cultural diversity. It's looking at the similarities, it's the differences. Okay? So community, cultural awareness. Then we're looking also at citizenship, and that's the relationship between citizens and communities. All the different people from different cultural backgrounds, language backgrounds within a particular community. And then lastly, global awareness. Okay, what is going on in our world today? And unfortunately, my experience is that a lot of students aren't really familiar with all the events taking place today. Okay, as much as they're on Facebook, they really don't know some of the bigger issues. So within a CLIL lesson, this is the perfect opportunity for you to start bringing out global awareness. Okay? Right, and also when it comes to community, when it comes to cultural practices, it's about being sensitive to differences amongst communities. And now cognitive, and this is actually the one that actually gets the students quite excited. And it's about the level of learning, because the level of learning will dictate, the student's level of learning will dictate how successful your lessons are going to be. And by that, it's about including higher order thinking skills, problem solving, critical thinking, all those kind of things which we're going to talk about now. So the cognitive is about the level of learning. And it would be unacceptable if CLIL is lower than the student's level of learning. So we always have to try and apply it a little bit higher than where they currently are. Right? Okay, so those are that's your conceptual framework. I want to ask you, while some of you have been teaching in Taiwan, what do you think are the needs in a classroom? What are the needs? Sorry? In a classroom, when you're teaching, what do you think the particular needs are? Sorry? Feeling safe to make mistakes, sure. What else? What else? Is that all? They need to express themselves, sure.
They need to be challenged.
They need to be challenged.
They need to succeed.
They need to succeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
They need to feel approval.
Approval? Okay. Sure. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay, let me take you through some of the ideas I have. Well, first of all, my belief in Taiwan is the majority of our students have been